David turned into the common area on his way to his cabin. He figured he could get some tea to wake him up a bit more than before. His walk was uneventful, thankfully, however. As he stepped through the door, he was met with a scene he wished he didn't need to see. Sitting at one table was Sergeant Hirth and a Zangith, currently locked in an arm wrestling match and what was officially a betting pool organized by Cole. The Zangith near non-existent dimorphism made it hard to tell a male from a female, and that alone made David's heart sink while a pit reformed in his stomach. Choosing to figure it out the easy way, he walks over to a different Zangith watching the match. "Looks like Hirth is set to win, he is smiling," he said nonchalantly. The Zangith shifted a bit to get a look at Hirth before saying, "Yeah, I think he and North may have picked a bad choice." They crossed their two sets of arms. "But can't blame her. She missed all her chances on the station because of bad behavior." "Well, fuck!" David felt the pit solidify and knew he had to do the right thing. He walked over to Hirth, who seemed to be having a blast. He was one of the strongest humans on board. But if he wins, his life would be effectively over, and David wasn't letting that happen. He sat down next to Hirth with his back away from the Zangith and looked over his shoulder. "Hello there. How has your night been?" "Good. Had some drinks. Got most of the boys to bed, at least the one that struck out last night. Then this one challenged me this morning. I asked a challenge to what? They said my choice. I said arm wrestling and figured I would win. You know, with my subdermal enhancements," he said, while holding his opponent at bay. "I figured I'll go easy on the big guy." "Wow, that sounds fun," David said, letting his glee at the whole situation ooze out as he spoke. "Do you want to hear something funny?" David smiled, notifying Hirth he didn't need to ask. "Zangiths have the lowest sexual dimorphism score in the whole of the galactic community. Yeah, like their guys and girls look the same." "Wait, are you trying to fool?" Hirth started, but David continued. "Also, their females are known to choose partners based on whether or not they can beat them in a challenge." David emphasized the last word. "Also, the one you are going against is female, so if you win..." David paused. "Well, let's just say I'll be happy you are getting married." It was about a second later when David heard Hirth fake a yell of confusion as he threw the match. That man was nowhere near ready for that kind of commitment, especially with a different species. But that didn't matter now. David had his tea and left to get dressed properly. The shielding unit that was gifted to this ship by the Republic of Humanity was a relatively new tech to the galaxy, and as such still needs a dedicated team to make sure it doesn't overclock the reactor and backup batteries. David didn't much understand it, but he had his job to do and made his way in. He had hoped to find Jackson and Emma at some of the terminals working over something, not to them sitting facing each while playing on their game systems. Luckily for him, they didn't hear him enter, so he decided this would be a great chance to mess with them. "Engineers, why is that sparking?" He yelled as loud as he could and watched as they, in their panic, dropped their toys and rushed around looking for this magical sparking. It took them a bit of time to realize his ploy and turned to him with annoyance while collecting their game systems. "Ha-ha, David," Jackson said while putting the game system away in a pouch she had on her belt. "Why are you down here? We already set the all-green to the bridge." "Yeah," Emma jumped in, but David suspected that it was more because she was winning. Jackson Winters is passionately referred to within the team as Sparks. Not because she is spunk or anything, but more because she tried to reset the air conditioning unit in the common area and caused it to spark. She, however, is on the Skinner side of lean. Her flavor of tomboyishness, a trait that a few of the grunt find appealing. Between her lightly tanned skin, gorgeous amber hair, and green eyes, David understood why. M. Sanders, the only member of the team from the region of Britain, while she may be a bit shorter than 5 feet, hates being called short. She will and has kicked people for saying it to her face, with sharper features the other. And deep brown hair she wouldn't look out of place in her region. Her bright and cheerful blue eyes are her own personal gift from her father. "Well, if you must ask," he said, walking closer. "I need a favor. It's not much, but in return. I'll see to it you have half shifts for a few days." "Really? What is it you want?" Emma asked. David walked up to them and handed them a note. "Just this or something like that?" The two looked at the note and exchanged a confused look, then turned to face David, studying his face for a second before Emma finally broke the silence. Why? And what for? Well, the team will need to meet up and talk sometime about personal matters, like family meetings. He said calmly, We could, but it will take a while, like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe half if Cole and Andrew help. Jackson remarked, Sure we can get it done, but you better hold up your end of this, Emma added. Well, I'll leave you to it then, David said with a smile. Now I need to meet with the captain, so I'll see you at dinner. As he turned and walked away, Saya, Jackson called back. Goodbye, Emma said too. David's trip from the bellows of the ship to the bridge was quite pleasant. Exchanging a few short greetings with crew members of other races was fun for him. It gave him a chance to practice the many things he learned for this mission. I still can't believe I got stuck with this mission, he thought to himself as he walked. I mean, those lunatics should have died, and now I have to go and do something insane and borderline career-ending to fix this. When he was selected, he thought this was going to be a chance for him to take the first step toward being an ambassador. Instead, he had to go clean up and damage control for some moron's failure 100 years ago. I mean, it was a first-generation colonization ship with an untested FTL. He remembered the debrief he and the whole team got halfway through their training camp. He nearly walked into a Zandrafane while he was in deep thought, only noticing thanks to their tail waving in front of his face. Oh, sorry, I wasn't watching where I was going, he apologized. Oh, yeah, it's fine, Zandrafane said, turning to face him. Oh, you are the human pack leader, right? Yes, do you need help with something? David was a bit thrown off. Yes, well, actually, Well... They stammered, then faced David and tilted toward him at the hip. I was hoping you could introduce me to one of your pack mates. David was a bit taken aback by this. He knew that Zandrafane's emotional bonding speed was comparable, if not faster, than humans. It was only 2 days since they finished their ISO cycle, but he had to hear him out. I'll bite. Who are you interested in? The one called Angela. I heard her talking in the Medi Center, and her voice was sweet and full of confidence. And I saw her at the physical recreation area and watched the power and grace she has. I just want her to know how I feel. The Zandrafane started, then slowed down. But I also heard about Zaf and the others, and I don't want to overwhelm her. This Zandrafane wasn't much of a specimen, a bit short at 5'2" to the average 6, and leaner than the standard bulkiness he would need to have if he wanted a mate. His eye was the common teal and his fur was black. Not much of a catch in his people's mind. He would have to work hard to prove himself worthy or accept that he may never sire a child, the cruel reality of his culture. However, he is unfortunately Angela's type, and his cultural disposition to be submissive would work nicely for her. David was shocked and a bit discomforted by all that information, but wanted to help. Okay, well, next week will be her birthday, so I think you should give her a gift. He saw the young man become shy a bit as he said that, and I know the difference between our cultures. To my mind, we like gifts, and she will appreciate any. So I'll introduce you tonight at dinner, then it's up to you to figure out what she would like. David studied them as they took the information in. Really, thank you, they said as their tail waved from side to side. My name is Kialan. Great, I am David Solomon. David paused, and a thought crossed his mind. Just so I don't get mauled, does Alaris know about this? Kialan froze and seemingly realized something. Oh, Findra. He turned and started running. David considered contacting Alaris before him, but figured he had more important things to handle. The view of FTL was very much like what old human shows believe it would be like. The quantum envelope around the ship stretched the light around them and made their forward motion look like a tunnel. To David, it was anticlimactic. But this was how it was. The scene from the bridge was nicer than other parts of the ship. As he walked in, the captain was watching a terminal attached to his chair. Captain, I see we are in FTL. How long until we reach our first stop? David asked, stepping up next to the old captain. Well, Gavi estimates the flight will take us 2 whole weeks, but the emergency system is working so we won't crash, the captain replied while scratching his beak. Also, the shield array your kind has built is remarkable. No one had ever thought of using hard light to enhance the defenses of a ship. Well, I am glad to hear that it is up to your liking, David said with some glee. Captain, would it be possible to arrange for a party to be held in a week? One of the humans aboard has a hatch day. The captain glanced at David for a second. I suppose that should be all right. I've been told your race likes to count age with celebrations. Is there anything else you require? The captain was old with experience after all. Yes, 2 of my crew. Engineer Emma Cooper and Engineer Jackson Winters need a bit shorter shift for the next week. Nothing too major, but I notice they're more fatigued than the rest of the team. David said back, Would keeping them as they are not a possibility? The captain asked calmly. Well, yes, however, it can cause health problems and a decrease in work efficiency, David said. I see. How long would they need to recover? The captain said after a bit of pondering. 2 weeks on 3/4 shifts, a week on half, David answered. Make it a week, but I need them on standby. The captain ordered, Yes, sir, I'll inform the engineers. David responded. You are dismissed, the captain said, going back to the data stream on his terminal.